Just want to make a point here, okay? Nikki Haley has taken a lead over Donald Trump in Vermont. So when he made the prediction earlier today at 8 a.m. Eastern time on our air that he would go 15 for 50 or had a chance to do that, right now Vermont is standing in his way.
All right, former President Trump at Mar-a-Lago, choosing the blue striped tie tonight in the ballroom at Mar-a-Lago. Several hundred people there, and if I had to bet, proud to be an American?
Always. Well, I'm always proud to be American, and I know everybody on the panel is as well. But I think, yeah, that's always the walkout song.
Right before the president speaks, why isn't Joe Biden speaking tonight? Joe Biden's having a big win across America tonight, yet he can't get up and give his speech.
Let's ask Peter if the lights are on. I don't know if the lights are on over there.
This is highly unusual. It's a
Big
prime
speech on
every night.
Thursday. Why not?
So what? You give two big speeches if he can do it.
I will say for the former president, you don't get many big moments like this. He had the Supreme Court unanimous ruling. That was a big moment. The audience he has tonight could be one of the biggest of the election. There could not be presidential debates. The convention you've got tonight, these are big moments. You got to materialize on them.
Absolutely. Let's go to Mar-a-Lago and listen. I think the president is about to begin speaking.
Very much. They call it Super Tuesday for a reason. Tuesday's a big one. And they tell me, the pundits and otherwise, that there's never been one like this. There's never been anything so conclusive. This was an amazing night, an amazing day. It's been an incredible period of time in our country's history. It's been sad in so many ways, but I think it's going to be inspiring because we're going to do something that, frankly, nobody's been able to do for a long time. We've watched our country take a great beating over the last 3 years, and nobody thought a thing like this would be possible. We wouldn't have Russia attacking Ukraine. We wouldn't have Israel being attacked. Iran, as you know, was broke. When I was running things, they were broke. They didn't have money for Hamas. They didn't have money for Hezbollah. We had no inflation. Inflation is destroying the middle class. It's destroying everything. Inflation, if you look back over the history, hundreds of years back, it's called inflation. It's called a country buster. And that's what it's doing to our country. What's happened with inflation has been unbelievable. A lot of people say, a lot of experts have said the stock market's the only thing that's doing well, and that's doing well because our poll numbers are so much higher than Joe Biden's. He's the worst president in the history of our country. There's never been anything like what's happening to our country. Today it was announced that 325,000 people were flown in from parts unknown. Migrants were flown in, airplane, not going through borders, not going through the great Texas barrier that I was with the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, the other day, and we were looking at the job they're doing, but in the meantime, they're pouring into California and they're pouring into Arizona because those governors aren't doing anything. They're doing nothing. But today it was just announced before I came out. It was unbelievable. I said, that must be a mistake. They flew 325,000 migrants, flew them in over the borders into our country. So that really tells you where they're coming from. They want open borders, and open borders are going to destroy our country. We need borders and we need free and fair elections, and we don't have a country. This is an incredible group of people. So many celebrities that I'm not going to introduce any because I'm just going to get myself in trouble if I do that, because I'll leave out most of you. But this is a room chock full of incredible, talented people, like some of the guys standing right in front of me, right? Big futures, big, fat, beautiful futures. Oh, I'd love to be your age. I'd pay you a lot of money to be your age. probably in the history of the world. It's sad to see what's happening to our cities. Our cities are being overrun with migrant crime, and that's Biden migrant crime. But it's a new category of crime, and it's violent, where they'll stand in the middle of the street and have fistfights with police officers, and if they did that in their countries from where they came, they'd be killed instantly. They wouldn't do that. So the world is laughing at us, the world is taking advantage of us. 3 years ago, we were at a level, we were energy independent, we were going to be very shortly energy dominant, and today we're getting oil from Venezuela. Can you believe it? And we're doing numbers on that oil. You know what we did? We're refining the oil. We have a refinery for that oil. It's really, I call it tar. It's not oil, it's terrible. We have real stuff. But we're refining it in Houston. So for all of the environmentalists, you ought to look at that, because all of that tar is going right up into the atmosphere. You just ought to take a look. It's the only plant that can do it. We have the only plants that can take tar and make it into oil, and that's what it is. It's a shame. But we were energy independent. We were going to be energy dominant. We were going to be supplying oil to Europe, all over the world, and then a tragic thing happened during the election. It was a tragedy, because you wouldn't have, think of it, all of the problems that you have today, I don't think you would have had any of them. You'd only have success, and that's what's ultimately going to unify this country and unify this party. We have a great Republican Party with tremendous talent, and we want to have unity, and we're going to have unity, and it's going to happen very quickly. And I've been saying lately, success will bring unity to our country, and it happened before. We had the best economy our country's ever had, and people were calling me that I would have said will never happen. It'll never happen. They wanted to get together, African American, Asian American, Hispanic American, women, men, people with diplomas from the best schools of the world, and people that didn't graduate from high school. Every single group was doing better than ever before, and it was a beautiful thing. Our country was coming together. Our country was coming together. And now we have a very divided country. We have a country that a political person uses weaponization against his political opponent. It never happened here. It happens in other countries, but they're third world countries. And in some ways, we're a third world country. We're a third world country at our borders, and we're a third world country at our elections. And we have to stop that. We need a fair and free press. The press has not been fair, nor has it been free, but maybe someday they will be. They're being beaten up pretty badly. People aren't trusting them. They're not believing them. And really, it's a very important factor. The press used to be the policeman. It used to police our country. Now nobody has confidence in them, and we have to get that confidence back. It's so important for the success of our country. So important. So this has been a day that we've been waiting for. I want to thank my family for being here. It's a great family. I have a great family. They've had it very easy since I decided to run for politics. They say, thanks a lot, Dad, we appreciate it. But they're strong, and they're very capable people, and they love the country. They really do love the country, and we appreciate it. And I want to thank everybody at my staff. Susie, Chris, incredible job. Incredible job you do. I read an article yesterday where it said this is one of the finest run campaigns that anybody has ever seen. That's pretty good, right? That's pretty good. Really stinking. And we have no choice, because November 5th is right around the corner. November 5th is going to go down as the single most important day in the history of our country.
Absolutely correct.
We're going to take it's a joke. Other leaders who I speak to, other leaders can't believe what happened to us. Because 3 years ago, we were the most respected country anywhere in the world by far. We were doing things that nobody could believe. China was paying us billions and billions of dollars. In 25 years, they paid us nothing, zero, not 10 cents. I was getting billions of dollars, and they were happy about it, as happy as you can be. Of course, maybe there's reasons for things having happened, but they were not so happy with certain things, I guess, based on things that took place. But we were getting along with everybody. We were getting along, and we were respected by everybody. We had no wars. Remember when I had the debate with Hillary Clinton? She said, look at him, look at that personality. He's going to cause wars. I said, no, my personality is going to keep us out of wars, and that's what happened. For 20 years, they were fighting ISIS. I defeated ISIS in 4 weeks. I got rid of ISIS 100%. 100% of the ISIS caliphate. And we had no wars, and we stopped wars. We weren't getting along with a lot of countries. All of a sudden, North Korea, which is a serious nuclear power, but North Korea came along. Kim Jong-un, we got along very well. We got along very well with China until COVID, and that was a little bit too much as far as I was concerned. That was too much. Couldn't take that one. But we made a trade deal with China that I don't even talk about. $50 billion a year in product they bought from our farmers, our manufacturers. They used to buy 10, and I got 50, and it was great. But COVID, I don't even talk about that because COVID was such a horrible thing. It started in the Wuhan labs, just as I said, the Wuhan labs, and it came out, I believe, through incompetence. I believe it was incompetence. Some people think it wasn't, but I believe it was. But regardless, it caused $60 trillion worth of damage and death all over the world, all over the world. And we did a fantastic job on that. We never got credit for that. Unbelievable job on that. We came up with things that nobody thought was possible. Don't forget, when it came in, nobody had an idea what it was. They didn't even use the word pandemic. Nobody had an idea. But we did a fantastic job. And we got a lot of credit for the economy, a lot of credit for our foreign policy. I think credit like nobody, very few people have gotten. And the press was very honest about it. They gave us very high marks on foreign policy, the Abraham Accords, so many different things we did. But we never got the kind of due that we should have for the COVID, or as I call it affectionately, the Chinese virus, the China virus, which is a much more accurate term. And despite that, the stock market, when we turned it over, the stock market was higher than it was prior to COVID coming in. It was an amazing thing, and we did an amazing job. And we have so many people that worked on that, so many of the doctors, so many of the scientists that worked with us on that, and it was really, really something. But there's never been an administration that had more success in so many different elements. We got the largest tax cuts in history. We have the largest regulation cuts in history. We rebuilt our military. And what happened, we rebuilt our entire military, and beautiful. We had jet fighters that were 53 years old, and we had all brand new jet fighters. And then after this other group of people that didn't know what they were doing, they took over, and we had that horrible surrender in Afghanistan. I call it a surrender. We took the soldiers out first. You know, I dealt with the leaders of the Taliban in Afghanistan. They were the ones that were causing the trouble. The press was very angry because they said, why are you calling them? I said, because that's where the problem is. I say oftentimes, they asked Jesse James, Jesse, why do you rob banks? He said, because that's where the money is. And I said, that's where the problem is with the Taliban. And I spoke to Abdul. He's still the leader. Believe it or not, he's really the leader of Afghanistan, but he's the leader of the Taliban, a rough group. I say, don't ever shoot our soldiers again. Don't ever do it. Very interesting what happened is that, we were having during the Obama administration, previously, they were shooting a lot of our soldiers, and I let them know. I said, don't ever let that happen. I said, in a rather nasty fashion. We don't have to go into it tonight. For 18 months, we lost nobody in Afghanistan, and then we had that horrible withdrawal where we lost 13 soldiers, 38 horribly wounded, left Americans behind. You know, we have Americans right now still behind. Call them hostages if you like. It was a terrible moment. We left $85 billion worth of brand new beautiful equipment behind, jets and tanks and everything you can think of, goggles, night goggles. They didn't used to fight. They're good fighters. They didn't used to fight at night, but now they do because they have goggles. They have better goggles than we have. So I just want to tell you that led to a lot of bad things, and now the worst things are happening. The things that are happening now are unthinkable, and they're unthinkable at the border. We have millions of people invading our country. This is an invasion. This is the worst invasion probably. We've never had anything like it. No country has ever had anything like it. The number today could be 15 million people, and they're coming from rough places and dangerous places, and we had that shut down. We had everything going so beautifully. When Joe Biden goes to the beach, because somebody on his staff thinks he looks very good in a bathing suit, until he can't get his feet out of the sand or lift the chair, which weighs about 9 ounces. Joe Biden, if he would have just left everything alone, he could have gone to the beach. He would have had a tremendous success at the border and elsewhere. So we're going to take back our country. We're going to make sure we are going to do it right. We're going to have the greatest economy ever in the history of our country. We're going to top what we did. We're going to become an energy center of the world. We were ready to become energy dominant, and they stopped that. But we're going to become energy dominant. We're going to pay off debt. We're going to do things that nobody thought was possible. You know, we hadn't done our second phase of the tax cuts. When we did the tax cuts, the Democrats fought us very hard. And now they say, well, I guess that was pretty good because we took in much more revenues after we cut taxes, and then we did all of those regulation cuts, and people were working, and everybody was happy, and we were all proud of our country. But we're going to win this election because we have no choice. If we lose the election, we're not going to have a country left.
I think you're absolutely right there.
And we're going to do something. Thank you very much. And we love you too. And we love our country. And we can't let this magnificent, some people call it an experiment. I don't call it an experiment. I just say this is a magnificent place, a magnificent country, and it's so sad to see how far it's come and gone. When you look at the depths of where it's gone, we can't let that happen. We're going to straighten it out. We're going to close our borders. We're going to drill, baby, drill. We're going to get the inflation down, and we are going to make our country greater than ever before, and we're going to do it quickly. We're going to do it quickly. It's going to go fast. We have to get the criminals out. We have many, many criminals that have entered our country. We have people coming in from such bad places, and we're going to have to get them out. We have murderers that are being deposited into our country. We have drug dealers at the biggest and highest levels. They're coming into our country. We have people coming into our country that just shouldn't be here, but many, and I say many, large percentages, they come in through the caravans, they come in many different ways. Now we find out again, they come in through airplanes, we send them in. This is crazy, but they come into our country, we're going to stop them, we're going to close our borders, we're going to have to deport a lot of people, a lot of bad people, because our countries can't live like this. Our cities are choking to death
Mar-a-Lago, a softly delivered speech, but he hit the main themes that he's hit on the campaign trail, saying it's a big night for him. As of right now, he's won 11 states so far, waiting on a few more, including Vermont, that's pretty tight at this hour. California, the big delegate hall, closes at 11 p.m. Eastern time. He hit all the main points about drilling, about energy, spent a lot of time on foreign policy, specifically Afghanistan, saying that that was a big, big problem, and that the country essentially is falling apart, and he sees it as his duty to try to bring the country back from this precipice that he believes President Biden and his administration have taken us to.
Familiar themes, though. I mean, all things that we have heard before from President Trump, not an overarching message that some people may have anticipated tonight. So let's bring the panel back in and see what they thought of the president's speech. Trey Gowdy, Laura Ingram, Brick Hume, Dana Perino, Harold Ford Jr., and Sandra Smith. Laura, let me start with you. Was this the message that meets the moment here tonight?
Well, I think the moment is the result of tonight, which is overwhelmingly for Trump. I mean, I'm always wanting something that I don't hear from all these candidates. I want it all to be about tomorrow. You have to talk a little bit about your record, but by now pretty much everyone knows about Trump's record. So I would have liked him to say more about we're doing this, and he did some of that toward the end. I think you could hear the applause lines were more about what he's going to do in the future versus the past. But all in all, this was an overwhelming rebuke of the old establishment. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but there's no other conclusion other than maybe Vermont. But right now, I think it's Nikki Haley's opportunity to reach toward the party that is moving and has moved, I would say, in a much more populist direction. Trump could have kind of reached out to her tonight, but I think at this point, it's probably, if she wants to be in the party, it's her time to reach out to him.
Brett, it's interesting that the former president does this a lot.
And I agree with that.
Use teleprompter sometimes. He just goes out and speaks off the cuff.
Right.
Something that we don't see from President Biden. He's very scripted on a teleprompter.
Good for him. Good thing, too.
And at this moment, do you think, to Laura's point, that you wanted to hear something different at this moment, or was this the perfect message for this in his style?
Big night, big winner. Obviously, he's going to get the nomination. Everybody probably knew that going into tonight. So what was the opportunity afforded by tonight? It was to make people who might be not prepared to vote for him decide, I can vote for this guy. He's okay. He's a better guy than a lot of people think. What he did was mostly brag about his record, which, he has a case. But I would raise the question, did he add anybody to his column tonight by that talk that wasn't there before?
I think so.
Yeah.
Well, in one way, he wins not just the vote, he wins the night for communications. He's the only one speaking tonight, right? So President Biden decided not to take an opportunity to speak. We would have taken that speech.
Absolutely.
Nikki Haley decided not to speak tonight, and that might be other reasons, right? I don't know when she will speak. Well, I'm sure we'll hear from her in the next couple of days, maybe 3 or 4 days, as she soaks it all in and decides what she's going to do. But so there's that. So he wins the night for that. I didn't feel like there was like this great soundbite we're going to use for tonight. I said on the 5 something that I think is something he could have done tonight, which is to look into the camera and say, Mr. President, I'll see you on the debate stage. Would love to meet with you. Do it any way you want. I'll meet you any way you want to do it. We can have a moderator or not. We can give you 15 minutes. You know what? We can do a whole debate just on the economy. We'll focus it and just say, I'm ready to meet you, because the American people deserve to know what we will do for them in the future, and to put it on them, because then the story in the paper is Donald Trump challenges Biden to debates, and that becomes a question. Then you put the ball back in their court.
100%. Harold, what do you think the president would say to that? He didn't come out tonight. He had a big win. Could have had a moment. He put out a statement, which we all got. If Donald Trump returns to the White House, all the progress is at risk. He's driven by grievance and grift, focused on his own revenge and retribution, and it goes on. But it's a paper statement, essentially.
So I'm glad Dana sits 2 seats from me on the 5 and is not advising President Trump. It could be worse for President Biden. The stakes are incredibly high now. We've all said this is the longest general election race we're going to see ever. At least I'm 53 years old, never seen anything quite like it. And you wonder, I think, to the point that Laura and Britt are making, what do you do when you get a victory? How do you take the victory and translate it into showing the American people that you want to stabilize and secure the country? You think about the great breaches in our country today, our border, our education system, our foreign policy. It was interesting. No mention, you mentioned Afghanistan, but no mention of Israel Hamas. It's been since October 7th, still no funding for Ukraine, no funding for our friends in Israel, and obviously nothing on the border. You mentioned the border, but these breaches are real, and perhaps we'll get to a point when we start talking about these things, but I thought he might have missed a moment tonight. To your point, Britt, the Haley supporters, I think she probably needs to reach out, but if you're the one that wins, you reach out. The independents, if indeed black voters and Hispanic voters are flocking to him like some of the polling data, I don't disbelieve it, suggests, I'd have reached out to people with a little more. I might have gotten a teleprompter and might have gotten Dana to write a speech for me. I think it might have gone a little bit.
She should, I mean,
I don't think he could have
you don't think she should call him and say, congratulations, sir, and then they try to move on from there?
Yeah, but if I'm trying to heal the breach in my party, and there's a breach, we need to be clear. 30% of Republicans still say that they wanted someone else. I'd reach out. What does he lose not reaching out? I don't disagree either, but I just come from a house. I'd have reached out to him.
Listen, Senator, this is the soft sell Donald Trump. I think he has done different types of speeches. New Hampshire was much different than this. But to your point, it could have been on teleprompter. Tonight, he is on the cusp of being only the 5th American politician in modern party era to receive a major party nomination 3 or more times. Franklin Roosevelt, Richard Nixon, William Jennings Bryan, and Grover Cleveland. I mean, history is in the making here. And so does, to Harold's point, it meet the moment and his pitch?
It's a good question because he's got to tell voters how he's going to correct a lot of the problems that they're feeling right now. Earlier we talked about the tale of two economies, and to Britt's point, I mean, he certainly has a record to run on. When you look at the Trump economy, there's a lot to boast about there, but right now you've got Americans saddled in debt. I mean, 47% higher debt than just 3 years ago. They're racking up credit card debt to pay for what is still sky-high inflation. There was certainly an opportunity for him to really detail how he's going to correct some of those problems. It leaves a window. New York Times recently published a report basically saying Trump policies will lead to higher inflation. He's got to get out there and really detail to the voters that he's trying to woo now to come over and vote for him, that he can correct a lot of those problems. Because you look at the polling out there, it's Democrats too who are feeling this. They are not optimistic about the future when it comes to the economy. They believe it's in bad condition. He needs to reach out to some of those independents who feel the same. And, perhaps there was a missed opportunity, but he does have a record to run on when it comes to the economy for sure.
True.
I think the issues are there for potentially a Reagan-esque mandate in November. The issues are there: the border, the economy, our status on the world stage. My friend, the gentleman from Tennessee, raised something. I actually saw it a little bit differently. I thought the president was nuanced tonight, which he's not always. One example, the press. He said we need a referee in this society that is fair. Who could possibly disagree with that? The old Donald Trump would have pointed to the back and said they're the enemy of the state. He didn't do that tonight. He said we need a free, fair, bold press, but be fair about it. I think this was as conciliatory.
This was a kind
nuance,
Donald
as he
Trump.
be. The issues are on his side. If he can message them effectively, he could have a mandate in November.
We do have a decision desk call. The Fox News decision desk can now project that former Governor Nikki Haley will win the Vermont Republican primary. This is her second primary contest win following the District of Columbia. There you see 83% in. Bill Hemmer just came, the big areas, Montpelier, other places, came through for him.
Yeah, we were watching this throughout the night. The call is with Haley up 3.8%. Keep in mind this is an open primary. If you are a Vermont voter, you can walk into a primary location today and choose the ballot that you want, and it does not automatically register you with that party. Okay, so with 3.8%, that translates to 2,511 people in the state of Vermont. And in this case, it worked out for Nikki Haley to win in Vermont and also win in Washington, D.C. the other day. Other than that, it's been a shutout, and Donald Trump is still pitching.
Does she need to hit 50% in Vermont?
If she does hit 50, like I knew we were going to do this. If she does hit 50, she gets the majority.
take-all for the 17 delegates. If you're under there, it goes proportional, and don't ask me to get in that. But if she doesn't get to 50%, that 17% is divided by 2. All right, you're right there at 50. So she gets she's at 50.1 right now to technically get all 17 delegates. Short of that, you take 17, divide by 2, and that's your answer.
The big picture, Brett, I mean, 11 states so far. California's going to go to Trump.
For her, it's pretty slim pickings. I mean, I think we all see the outcome is really inevitable, and gestures toward her may be important, but the bigger question is gestures broadly speaking, because while Trump is leading in the polls now, and some more than others, our poll has only 2 points, others have it higher, so he looks to be in good shape for November, and that doesn't mean November is going to be this is going to be the history of the country, but that's the day we're all pointing toward. And it does seem to me that he would be wise to try to count on this being a close election and try to reach for every vote he can get his hands on.
I think Trump's votes are coming from unlikely places. They're going to come from urban America a little bit, maybe 3 or 5%. I think they're going to come from working class people. I think a lot of the Haley voters are protest voters. They're never going to vote for Trump. And I don't think she has a lot of sway over them. So I'm not sure what her bargaining chip is. I think tonight we should look back at the people who proclaimed Donald Trump's political death. Donald Trump is finally finished. New York Times, November 2020. Relax, a Trump comeback in 2024 is never going to happen. Politico. This could be the greatest political comeback story of all time. I mean, maybe some of you can remember something better than this, but if he pulls this off in November, and it's an if, but even to get to this moment, pretty much everyone was declaring him DOA. What does that say about all of us? I mean, maybe we need to spend more time with the American people, or at least I do, because I have my doubts at various times as well.
And it says quite a bit about him.
Yeah, he knows the pulse of
as
the
a
people.
politician and as an individual, he has a lot of pull with a lot of people across this country.
But who could have imagined that he would be able to stand there and point to the failures of an administration as drastic as these have been across issue after issue after issue? He had much advantage.
He predicted it.
Absolutely.
Right. He predicted it. He said he's going to open the border, he's going to drive inflation. During the entire campaign, pretty much everything he said about Biden has come true.
And now it'll be a binary choice. We're gonna wrap up here. We'll come back. What's that?
Does everyone know what they're going to be for Halloween? The race is after Halloween.
Yeah, exactly.
A big night for former President Trump, and it is not yet over. Senator Tim Scott is here with reaction, our special coverage of Super Tuesday.
Good Tim Scott. Good man. Great man. A great night for free people who believe in our Constitution and Bill of Rights.